Hello and welcome to part 4 of the Midwest Pond and Garden Tour. So over this weekend we visited, I think it was 10 ponds?
I think it was 10, yeah.
And this one was the first. And this was a really good start to this weekend's tour. It's a large pond, set in quite a large lot. And this first pond, I think that ring is for feeding the fish. I think it holds the food so it doesn't go into the skimmer. We used to have something like that.
Right. The fish look beautiful too.
Some nice rock work in this pond. That was a nice stone bridge.
Beautiful waterfalls and streams. And the homeowners said that they had just recently purchased the house and the pond came with it, but what they did is to take much of the landscaping out and do their own landscaping, and they've done a beautiful job. Look at all the moss on the rocks. Isn't that wonderful?
What I like about it is the way it's tiered and that it's not straight. It's winding and tiered. Really gives it a lot of interest into a fairly small space, because the actual stream isn't that long, but because it's tiered and windy, it seems longer.
It's right off their patio. And they said they have a lot of wonderful lighting too. I bet it's beautiful at night.
And you can see it's well integrated into the landscape. It's not all pond, they still have significant lawn.
Right.
Some nice plantings around it. Has a very secluded feel to it. Really nice. There's the stone bridge. And they have a dog. All gardens should have a dog.
I think so too.
And she's walking up to the back of the pond, so you can get a view looking down the waterfall. And again, some really nice plantings, which you can see they're all fairly new because they've just re-landscaped it, as Connie was saying.
And there's another nice place to sit.
Yeah, quite beautiful. The first thing that struck me with this pond was their obviously excellent landscaping. This path really draws your eye. However, my immediate thought when we got to this point and saw a small water feature, I thought, oh, is that it? But I was so wrong. Following this path around, you can see when I saw this, I thought, well, that's very pretty, but
Right.
isn't there more?
A little pondless waterfall. And it's nice because if you're sitting outside And that's what you want, is just hear the sound of water. Those are very pretty. You can't put fish in them, but you can see how pretty it is, though.
And this is at the front of the house. Some people do that at the front of the house. So I was expecting the main pond perhaps to be at the back of the house, but it's actually at the front, and it's quite impressive. And all this is part of one system, I think. That little initial pondless, I think it's part of this, but couldn't really tell because it's so well done.
Right. They have some beautiful landscaping.
And I love the way it opens up for you as you walk, because as you came up the path, you did not expect to see this. And as you keep going, you don't expect to see it be as big as it is. And this is kind of the finish. That's the wow. That's beautifully done, those multiple waterfalls.
That is. And look at all those wonderful hostas. We have mostly sun in our garden, so we don't have any hostas, but I really wish we did because the variety is incredible. They have mostly shade. And look at those fish.
Nice water quality too.
Nice, yes.
Remember, all this is at the front of their property. So went to the back of the property because it says more water features this way. And while it is a water feature, it's not a pond, it's a swimming pool. Which would have been really nice to have jumped into on this day because it was very, very hot. But back to the front and another shot of their multiple waterfalls. Really, really well executed. Some great rock work.
They've left a little bit of space so you can walk around, though. Really nice.
Never seen anything like that at the front of somebody's property before.
No. That's an interesting sculpture. What a lovely place to sit. This homeowner has a deceptively small back garden, and he has filled the entire thing with beautiful shade landscaping and a pond. You don't even notice from the front of the house. You don't expect this at all. But look at this. Look at the ferns and the hostas. And they have filled every inch of this very small backyard with wonderful features, sitting area. I think that's a fire pit under the table. Look at that.
Yeah, and what I liked about it is the way it opens up to you. You don't even know that they have a pond. You have to go fairly deep into the garden before you realise that they have a pond. I mean, it's quite beautiful without a pond. Landscaping is wonderful, right off the deck there. And it kind of invites you to explore, to follow these winding paths and see what is around the next corner.
And if you notice, he mentioned he has a number of evergreens that he didn't expect to live, but they're looking beautiful. The entire backyard is shaded, and his evergreens all look wonderful.
And then we have a small stream leading into a fairly large pond.
He's done a nice job with little pops of color with the impatiens in pots, and they do wonderful in shade. He's done a lovely job with that too.
And because it's surrounded by woodland, it integrates really well and looks quite natural in its setting. So this next pond is in a very small back garden, and it's a great example of what you can do with limited space. It's a small pond, but it has some very nice features. Probably the first one that catches your eye is that bowl feature with the water hyacinth in it. He was explaining the way he added that later, and it works quite well.
It does. I was admiring it. He has some really nice plantings. And the other thing that he said is he wanted to have some privacy, so he put quite a number of large trees in the backyard behind the pond, and it's working really well.
It does make the property seem a lot larger.
True.
Because of the backdrop of the evergreens that he's planted.
And at first I thought he didn't have any fish, but he has water lilies, and I asked him where the fish were, and it was a very hot day. The fish were cooling off under the water lilies.
As you can see, his neighbours just back there, so you can see how small the lot is. But to have this in your backyard is really quite magical. And he was explaining that the pond is actually big enough for his children to swim in. They were swimming in it just the day before the tour, he was saying. So yeah, the koi are under those lily pads somewhere.
When you walk through the fence of this homeowner's yard, you walk around and don't expect to see the pond right away, and you don't. There's quite a sweeping area of grass. And then you notice that they have a lovely patio and a nice deck where they have a lot of seating. It's really nice, and that's obviously why they wanted to put their pond right at the edge of their deck.
It's probably the smallest pond that we saw. But again, it's a great example of, even with a small pond, the atmosphere that even a small pond creates, because you've got the noise of the water, the reflections on the water. It's just a great addition to a small space, and it even has fish.
Their fish are very small.
Mm-hmm. Quite lovely. You can imagine sitting either on the deck or on the area that they've got right next to the pond.
Right.
And enjoying it.
They've done a really nice job of softening the rocks with some of their creeping junipers and some of those plants. It's completely in the sun, so they have a lot of lovely evergreens too. That looks like a mugo pine. That's very pretty.
So the unusual thing about this pond is that their next door neighbour also has a pond. It's the first time that I've ever seen that. Two neighbours both having ponds. I mean, we're into ponds, but to have two neighbours both into ponds at the same time is quite rare, I think.
It's a first, I think, for us.
You can see it's quite shaded, but they have a lovely seating area with a fire pit there. The pond is quite small, and the unfortunate thing about this pond is that it's covered with a net. I don't know if you can quite catch that sign there, but I do a close-up on it later, explaining why it's covered with a net. It's because they had and are having problems with herons eating their fish. So this net is meant to keep the herons away. I think so. The unfortunate thing about a net, obviously, is you then really can't get a good view of the fish. And those silver sculptures hanging off the net are meant to scare away critters, including herons.
Yeah, it's too bad. But we understand, having dealt with herons ourselves.
Because when I look over the net, you can see it's actually a really nicely constructed pond with tiered waterfalls. It's quite subtle, nice rocks and some nice landscaping around the rocks. It's just too bad that they have to keep it netted. You can see it's set in a small lot again, but again they've made a really good use of the limited space that they have. See, the fish ate the lilies, the raccoons ate the fish, and the heron ate the fish, which unfortunately is why
Right.
they have to keep a net over it.
Then all we had to do is walk next door and head towards their garden to see their neighbor's pond. It looks like they coordinated their fencing.
Yeah.
They must be good neighbors, good friends. It's very shaded back here too.
So I think it's probably the exact same size of lot, but a very different looking pond. And interestingly, these guys don't have their pond covered with a net. So even though they're right next door, it appears they don't have the same issue with herons.
Or raccoons.
Or raccoons.
Yeah.
Because they do have fish.
And they've incorporated some urns to just add to the sound of the water. Oh, right, you were looking at a fish hiding in that log.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a very hot day, so the fish were really looking for shade. And that's a beautiful, although I think it's just about finished, beautiful water lily there.
I think the homeowner added that moss. That doesn't look like moss that just was created by the water. It looks like it was added, but I don't know. Anyway, it's beautiful. Lovely canna too.
Again, another great example of what you can do in a small space. So with this next pond, you can tell that these guys were keen gardeners because of all the work that they've done on the front of their property. But when we get to the pond, it was probably the most fun pond on the tour today. Lots of really unique sculptures. You can see some of them already. But the thing that made it unique is the way that they've made this stream wind all the way down their property. They've got a sloped property and they've really made the most of that slope with tiered streams going down into a larger pond. And it just seems to keep going.
And if you noticed on the left, they have quite a collection of metal frogs. They're so amazing.
Yeah, I got him. I found him.
That's quite a piece of driftwood there too. But they're clearly frog collectors.
Yes. So we've already passed 2 streams that come into one. Right there, over a small stone bridge. Flowing down into that larger pond, and it appears they have heron problems too, because that's what those strings across the pond are meant to deter. Have some large fish, more frog sculptures. We thought we had a lot of frog sculptures.
Not compared to these people. I wish someone had been out there. I would have asked them where they got the very large frogs.
Isn't it a company that's gone out of business now, you were saying?
No, I don't think so.
And then another stream that leads from the pond, because when you see that large pond, you think that you've reached the end. But I followed it down, so where's this stream going now? And I realised that it actually drains into a natural creek that they have at the back of their property.
It looks like it's quite dry. I think we'd have enough rain this year, but it doesn't look like it. There's a lot of capacity for water to come through that little viaduct.
Yes. Does make you wonder if their property floods.
It did. It made me wonder that.
Although because it's on a slope, probably not a problem.
They've done a lovely job with landscaping. I always think that kind of a sloped property would be incredibly different or difficult to landscape. It's not something that we're used to. Ours is we have a little bit of a hill, but mostly flat. Their pond is just off their patio as well, and have a covered patio with a wonderful place to eat. They've got a grill. Here's another frog. See, I want that frog.
And then although I couldn't tell, I don't think this pond was connected to that main system of ponds that they have, but still more.
They have so much water, so many waterfalls, so many streams.
And so many frogs.
And so many frogs.
And they have fish in this one too. You can see the fish there, and again, you can see the string to deter the heron. They have some beautiful fish, quite large.
They're really large. With the way that they're so isolated and they have so many trees, it's hard to believe that the herons could get in there. They must have had trouble, or they wouldn't have put the fish wire up, though. More frogs?
And more frogs.
Well, this homeowner, as you walk down this pathway, you can see so many coneflowers, black-eyed Susans. It's a conservation home, so they care about feeding the pollinators, and that is one of the things that this homeowner is interested in doing. It's quite a long path until you get to the backyard pond. But those are beautiful. Native coneflowers are amazing.
It's a nice flagstone path.
And it's quite a large back garden. Lovely water lilies.
It's a small pond, but nicely landscaped around it.
Were there fish in there, Mark?
I think so.
Must have been hiding under the lilies,
Yeah,
just like so many of them. I can't even believe that her anemones are blooming now, because ours are not. And she must get much more sun. You can see we haven't had much rain, so they have not been watering their garden, because you don't necessarily want to water your grass in August. Grass doesn't really do anything for us.
A lot of native plants at the back. They have phlox, and we saw a Joe Pye.
Joe Pye is a native plant. I did notice she had quite a few butterfly bushes, and I just want to mention that the butterfly bushes are, we didn't know this years ago, but they are considered to be an invasive species in North America, and they apparently now they've become naturalized in areas spreading from gardens into natural habitats. So in spite of the butterflies and the bees loving them, it's not necessarily a really good plant to put in your garden.
So this last property was very different from some of the other properties that we visited during this pond tour. It's much less urban, and as you can see, setting quite a large property on what was probably a farm at one point, because you saw that barn building back there. So as we walked down this path, we didn't quite know what to expect, and there were a couple of surprises. So the first thing that struck me was this wooden walkway, which is quite unique, and it goes quite far back, as you can see, as you'll see further on.
I thought that was a nice touch. Rather than using flagstone or rock, a nice wooden path leading to the back.
So it has quite a large property, because you can see that wooden walkway goes way off back there. And the pond is right off their patio, next to their house. Quite a large pond.
Quite good looking fish.
And you had an excellent water quality again. And some good rock work. Yeah, some beautiful fish. But the real surprise came by following that wooden walkway, because at the back of their property, they have a walk-through flower garden. They also have some tomatoes and other herbs in here, but it's mostly flowers. And it's quite delightful to walk through, even on a scorchingly hot day.
Wow, they have a lot of tomatoes.
Because this was just so unexpected. It's not something you expect to see laid out like this. But why not? It's a great use of their property, and it's quite beautiful.
I'm sure that they have a lot of vases filled with flowers.
And that's a lot of blooms for the middle of August.
Coneflowers are wonderful. Different colors, different types.
And then the real surprise was that they had goats. Although, because it was such a hot day,
Oh, you did see
I
a
only got
goat.
to see one goat, and I could not get him to say hello to me. I tried, I called him. He did not want to turn around. So thanks for joining us on this latest pond tour. We really enjoy sharing them with you.
And if you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more content just like it.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.